I learned my roommate could cook on the night I teased her in front of 9 friends. It wasn't mean-spirited. At least that's what I told myself right after the words slipped out. The smoke alarm blared through our small apartment kitchen. Our friends chuckled from the living room while Maya Ellis stood under the flashing red light, holding a dish towel in one hand and a blackened slab in the other. It used to be garlic bread. Now it looked like a crime scene. I waved a magazine at the alarm and joked, "This is why I always say Maya couldn't cook to save her life." The laughter grew louder. Maya looked at me through the haze, her brown eyes bright from chopping onions earlier, or maybe from the embarrassment I had just served up with a smile. Then she smiled back. Not her usual big, crooked grin. This one was quiet and knowing, like she'd been waiting for me to say something silly enough to let the truth out. "I only burn things when you watch me," she said. The room fell silent for a beat, not like in the movies, just that quick pause while everyone's minds caught up. Mine completely shut down. My name is Aaron Whitaker. At 30, I worked as a UX designer for a healthcare app. I had built my whole grown-up life around one clear rule: don't fall for anyone you share a bathroom with. It was a smart, safe rule that had worked fine for the 8 months Maya lived in the second bedroom. But that sentence, spoken in front of everyone with smoke swirling overhead and a flower tucked near her collarbone, made my rule feel as weak as that ruined garlic bread. Maya had moved in after my old roommate took a job in Denver and left me with rent that made my bank account cry. She was 28, an art teacher at an elementary school, and the kind of person who made any room feel warmer and more alive. Before her, my place looked like random furniture thrown together in the dark gray couch, plain black table. One sad plant I kept alive mostly out of guilt. After Maya, colorful watercolor cards hung by the fridge, a bright yellow bowl of clementines sat on the counter, and a silly ceramic rooster guarded the stove, supposedly protecting the happiness of breakfast. She had claimed she couldn't cook. At first it seemed true. The first week she burned oatmeal. The next, her scrambled eggs felt like wet sponges. One Saturday, her pancakes turned into 12 bouncy pail discs that actually dented the table when they landed. I teased her because teasing felt safe. It gave me a place to hide feelings I didn't want to face, like how I noticed paint on her wrist when she got home, or how she hummed old Motown tunes while grading papers at the table. Maya teased me right back. She called my meal prep boxes lonely bachelor coffins and said my coffee was hot punishment. Once, after I fixed her bedroom door hinge, she leaned in the doorway and said, "Careful, Aaron, being handy is dangerously attractive." I nearly dropped the screwdriver. But we were roommates, so I kept my distance. My rule had grown strong after my ex-fiancée Tessa cried on my shirt, promised she just needed space, and then ran straight into the arms of some guy from her office who wore loafers with no socks. After that, I stayed careful, polite, and funny from afar. Maya made staying distant hard, especially that Friday night. We hosted what she called almost Thanksgiving because our friends had messy holiday plans and the rest just loved good food. The apartment buzzed with people, coats, wine, and happy noise. Maya wanted to make the appetizers. "You sure?" I had asked earlier, watching her tie on a blue apron covered in tiny lemons. She narrowed her eyes playfully. "That tone says you doubt me. That tone says you care about our security deposit." She waved a wooden spoon. "It's me." Mockery will be remembered. By who? The fire department. She laughed, bright and easy, and for a moment I thought if I ever kissed her, she would probably laugh right before it happened. That idea stuck with me all evening like a hungry puppy. Then the garlic bread burned. Then I made my joke. Then she said, "I only burn things when you watch me." Our friend Devin spoke first. "Wait, what does that mean?" Maya's eyes stayed on me. "It means Aaron makes me nervous." Someone on the couch let out a long ooh. Heat climbed up my neck worse than standing by the smoking oven. "Maya," I said lightly, trying to save the moment, "everyone gets nervous around hot appliances." "No," she said simply, calm and steady. The laughs turned to quiet murmurs. Julia suddenly needed more wine. Devin stared at me like I'd been hit by a ball. Maya shut off the oven, opened the window, and brushed past me to toss the burned bread. Her shoulder touched my arm. It was nothing, it was everything. I caught vanilla and smoke in her hair, and my heart did something foolish over a ruined side dish. The night moved on. People ate. Devin shared a funny story about getting locked out of the gym in just a towel, and Julia defended canned cranberry sauce. Maya laughed at the right times but barely looked my way. That hurt more than anger would have. By 11, everyone had gone home, leaving empty bottles and heavy silence. I stood at the sink washing dishes to keep my hands busy. Maya wiped the counter next to me, still in her lemon apron. You didn't have to say it like that, she said. I glanced over. The cooking joke, she nodded. I'm sorry, I replied quickly. I thought we were just doing our usual back and forth. I didn't mean to embarrass you. She folded the towel slowly. It didn't embarrass me because of the cooking. I waited. She looked at me then away. It embarrassed me because it was true. My chest felt tight. Outside, a car drove by on the wet road, its lights sweeping across the kitchen ceiling. The apartment suddenly felt smaller and warmer, full of all the unspoken things we'd danced around for months. Maya, I said carefully, what was true? She met my eyes then, no teasing, no shrug. Just Maya with a flower on her cheek and a burn mark on her apron, looking more beautiful than she had any right to after nearly destroying garlic bread. I can cook, she said. I blinked. Of all the things I thought you'd say, that wasn't it. She gave a nervous little laugh. Pretty well, actually, but the pancakes, the eggs. You walked into the kitchen wearing that gray t-shirt. I looked down even though I wasn't wearing it, the one that made my shoulders look. She stopped, pressing her lips together. I should have let it go. A good roommate would have. A careful man definitely would have. Instead, I leaned against the counter and asked, makes my shoulders look what? Her eyes rose to meet mine. The air felt electric, the invisible line between us suddenly clear as a cliff edge. Don't make me say it, she whispered. My voice softened on its own. I kind of want you to. She laughed once, shaky at the edges. Then she reached past me for a drawer by my hip, her arm brushing my sweater. She grabbed a clean fork, went to the fridge, and pulled out a covered glass dish from the bottom shelf. What's that? I asked. She set it down and lifted the lid. Inside sat a perfect lemon tart, golden crust, shiny pale filling, delicate candied lemon curls on top like rays of sun. I stared. Maya held out the fork. I made it this afternoon, she said, before everyone came. I was going to give it to you after the party, if I didn't lose my nerve. I took the fork but kept looking at her. Maya gripped the counter edge. The first time I tried to cook for you, I wanted it to be perfect. Then you walked in, smiled, and I burned it. After that, it was easier to let you think I was terrible than admit I cared what you thought. My hand tightened on the fork. For 8 months, I'd called her hopeless in the kitchen. For 8 months, she'd hidden this. And from the way she looked at me now, the tart wasn't the only secret she'd kept. I'd eaten fancy desserts in nice restaurants, but none compared to this one. It was bright, smooth, and sweet with just the right touch of salt to sharpen the lemon. The crust melted softly, buttery, and light. When I opened my eyes, Maya was watching my mouth, not the tart. My mouth, that look hit me harder than words ever could. Well, she asked, trying for casual and missing by a mile. I set the fork down carefully because if I kept holding it, I might do something absurd like propose to a pastry. Maya, her shoulders lifted. That bad? It's incredible. The worry in her face loosened, but only a little. You don't have to say that because I emotionally cornered you with citrus. I'm saying it because it's true. She looked down at the counter, smiling at the tart like it had passed a test. I should have stopped there. A better man would have said thank you, gone to bed, and spent the next 6 months apartment hunting until his common sense returned. Instead, I said, how many other things have you pretended to be bad at because of me? Her smile changed. Cooking, she said, parallel parking. I blinked. You can parallel park beautifully. You made me get out in the rain and guide you into that space last month. You were wearing the gray t-shirt again. I stared at her, she shrugged, almost shy. I panicked. I laughed before I could help it. The tension broke, not completely, but enough that she laughed too, covering her mouth with the back of her hand. There she was, my Maya, except she wasn't mine. That was the problem. I leaned against the counter, folding my arms because I didn't trust my hands. So when you clipped the recycling bin, I didn't clip it. I gently introduced the bumper. Maya. It was a social interaction. I smiled and she smiled back, and for a few seconds it felt like all the awkwardness had been forgiven. Then her eyes softened. I didn't mean to make things weird, she said. You didn't, Aaron? Okay, you did. I exhaled, but not in a bad way. What other way is there? The way where something that was already there finally stops pretending it isn't. The words came out before I could sand them down. Maya went still. My heartbeat got loud enough to become a roommate of its own. She turned fully toward me. Something was already there. I should have been smooth. Charming, maybe. The kind of man who knew how to stand in a kitchen at midnight with a woman he wanted and not look like his soul had been caught in the toaster. Instead, I said yes. Her fingers tightened around the dish towel. How long? I laughed under my breath. Do you want the honest answer or the answer that makes me seem emotionally functional? Honest. The day you moved in, her lips parted. I looked away first because bravery had limits. You were carrying that ridiculous rooster under one arm and arguing with the movers about whether the couch was emotionally ready to go through the doorway. It wasn't. I know it needed encouragement. You remember that? I remember all of it. The confession sat between us, warm and dangerous. Maya took one step closer, not much, just enough that the edge of her apron brushed my jeans. I thought it was just me, she said. My laugh had no humor in it. It was definitely not just you. Her gaze dropped to my chest, then back up. Then why didn't you ever say anything? Because you live here, so I like having you here. My voice went rough more than I should. And if I ruined it, I didn't know how to lose you in small doses. Breakfast, grocery lists, you stealing my hoodies and pretending they migrated. They're drawn to me. They're cotton. They know what they want. I swallowed a smile. That makes one of us. Her face changed at that. The teasing faded, leaving something bare. I know what I want, she said. Every sensible thought I had ever owned took one large step back. Maya reached for my hand. It was such a simple thing, her finger sliding into mine, warm and tentative. But it undid me more thoroughly than if she had kissed me against the refrigerator. I looked down at our joined hands, her thumb moved once over my knuckles, careful as a question. I don't want to be your funny roommate you tease about toast, she said. Not only that, I forced myself to breathe. What do you want to be? She lifted her chin. The woman who makes you nervous too, I laughed softly. You passed that class months ago, advanced placement. Honors, her smile trembled. I stepped closer slowly enough that she could move away if she wanted. She didn't. Our knees brushed. The kitchen light hummed above us. Outside the window, rain stitched silver lines down the glass, and the whole apartment smelled like lemon smoke and her vanilla shampoo. Maya, I said, if I kiss you, this isn't going back into a box. Her eyes searched mine. Good, that one word nearly finished me. I lifted my free hand and touched her cheek. Flour dusted my thumb. She turned into my palm as if she had been waiting for it. As if my hand belonged there. As if 8 months of almost had been leading us to this cramped kitchen with dirty plates in the sink. Then my phone rang. We both froze. The sound came from the living room, shrill and stupid and possibly criminal. Maya closed her eyes. If that's Devin asking whether we kissed, I'm moving out, don't say that. Her eyes opened. I hadn't meant it to sound so urgent, but it did. The ringing stopped. Silence returned, thicker now. Maya's thumb brushed my hand again. I'm not moving out tonight, reassuring. But we should talk about it. I know, not now, she added quickly, cheeks coloring. I mean, not while you're looking at me like that. How am I looking at you? Like you're deciding whether lemon tart counts as a legally binding first date. It does if there are witnesses. There are no witnesses. The rooster, she laughed and I kissed her. Not because the moment was perfect. It wasn't. The sink smelled faintly of burned garlic. My phone might start again. The rooster was staring with ceramic judgment from beside the stove. I kissed her because she had reached for me, because I wanted her, because for once my fear was not louder than my choice. Her mouth was soft and warm, and she made a small sound that went through me like a lit match. Her fingers curled into my sweater. Mine slid from her cheek to the back of her neck where loose strands of hair had escaped her bun. It began gently. It did not stay that way. Maya rose on her toes, pressing closer. And I forgot the apartment, the rule, the reasons. I forgot everything except the taste of lemon on her lips and the way she smiled against my mouth when I backed into the counter and knocked the fork to the floor. Smooth, she whispered. I'm emotionally compromised, I noticed. I kissed her again, slower this time because I wanted to remember it. The tilt of her head, the little inhale before she kissed me back. The way her hand slid over my shoulder like she was finally allowed to touch what had been distracting her for months. When we parted, her forehead rested against mine. Neither of us spoke at first. Then Mia said, for the record, I did not burn the tart. I noticed, so maybe you're less distracting when you're not watching. I was watching just now. Her smile curved against my mouth, and I survived, barely, I agreed. My phone rang again. This time I groaned. Maya laughed and stepped back, though she kept hold of my hand for one extra second before letting go. That small delay felt like a promise. I went to the living room and grabbed my phone from between two couch cushions. The screen said Tessa, my ex-fiancée. Of course it did. I stared at the name long enough for the ringing to stop. When I turned, Maya was standing in the kitchen doorway, her expression unreadable. I didn't want old ghosts in the room, not after what had just happened. So I placed the phone face down on the coffee table and walked back to her. Not tonight, I said. Maya's eyes flicked to the phone, then to me. You don't have to explain, I know, but I want to. I took her hand again. That part of my life is over. Her shoulders eased, but she studied me carefully. And this part, I looked at our joined hands, at the flower on her cheek, at the woman who had hidden a whole talent because my opinion mattered too much. This part, I said, I want to do properly. Mia smiled. Good, she said, because properly starts with you eating another slice of tart and admitting my pancakes were never the problem. I pulled her back into the kitchen. Yes, chef, I said, and the way she looked at me when I said it made me think breakfast was about to become very complicated. Breakfast became complicated at 8:17 the next morning. I knew the time because I had been awake since 5:43, staring at my ceiling like a man awaiting sentencing. From the kitchen came the sound of a whisk against a bowl. Not a fire alarm, not Maya swearing at toast. A whisk, competent, rhythmic, suspiciously sexy. I got out of bed, brushed my teeth twice for reasons of national security, and opened my bedroom door. Maya was at the stove in sleep shorts, an oversized green sweater, and bare feet. Her hair was piled on top of her head in a messy bun, and she moved around the kitchen like she owned every inch of it, which honestly she did. Steam rose from a skillet. A bowl of berries sat beside a stack of plates. The ceramic rooster watched over the operation with smug approval. Maya glanced over her shoulder. Morning, roommate. The word landed awkwardly between us. Then her eyes dropped to my mouth and her cheeks turned pink. I leaned against the doorway. Morning woman who kissed me next to a lemon tart. That's my formal title. I'll update the lease. She laughed and turned back to the stove, but I caught the nervous movement of her shoulders. That made me cross the kitchen slowly. She knew I was coming. I saw it in the way she stilled, in the way her hand tightened around the spatula. I stopped beside her close enough that my arm brushed hers. What are you making? I asked. French toast. You can make French toast. I can make a lot of things. I feel betrayed by breakfast. She nudged me with her hip. You feel intrigued. I did, not only by the food. The skillet hissed softly as she flipped a slice of bread golden and perfect. She looked so focused, so sure that something in my chest twisted. I had spent months teasing her for something she'd hidden because she cared about me. I'm sorry, I said. Her hand paused. For the jokes, I added, all of them. I thought we were playing. I didn't realize I was giving you a reason to stay hidden. Maya set the spatula down and turned to me. You didn't make me hide, she said. I did that all by myself. Still, her gaze softened. I liked the teasing. Most of the time, it was easier than saying, hello, Aaron, I think about your hands an inconvenient amount. My brain emptied. My hands, she reached over and took one. Apparently, my hands had been promoted from body parts to evidence. She turned my palm up, tracing the faint line near my thumb from when I'd cut myself fixing her bookshelf. Her fingertip moved slowly and my body reacted like she had touched a fuse. These, she said, very distracting. My voice came out low. Maya, what? Her expression was innocent, her thumb was not. You asked, I did not ask. You wanted to. I caught her hand before she could pull away and lifted it to my mouth. I kissed her knuckles, her breath hitched there. That was the sound I wanted to live in for a while. The French toast chose that moment to smoke. Maya spun around. Oh no, I reached past her and turned the burner down. She looked at the pan, then at me, then at the slightly over-browned edge. See, she said faintly. When you watch me, I grinned. That one's on me. We ate at the tiny table by the window, knees bumping underneath because neither of us tried very hard to avoid it. The French toast was ridiculous. Cinnamon, orange zest, crisp edges, soft middle. I took one bite and closed my eyes. Maya groaned, don't do that. I opened one eye, eat, make the face. What face? The face that suggests you understand why poets become dramatic. I leaned back. This is what you've been hiding. She lifted her coffee, among other things. Should I be scared of my lasagna? Definitely, I'm willing to risk it. Her smile flickered, pleased and shy. Then my phone buzzed on the counter. We both looked. I didn't move. Maya took a careful sip of coffee. Is it her? I hated that Tessa had become a pronoun. I stood, checked the screen and sighed. Yes. Maya's expression closed a little like a curtain drawn against weather. I didn't answer. I silenced the phone and set it back down. She called twice last night. Maya said, I saw your face. I returned to the table but didn't sit. Tessa does this sometimes. Reappears when something in her life goes wrong. She doesn't want me. She wants proof she could still have me if she tried. Maya looked down at her plate. And can she? The question was quiet, vulnerable. It deserved better than a joke. I crouched beside her chair so we were eye level. No, her eyes lifted to mine. I don't want her, I said. I haven't for a long time. But she hurt you, yes, and people who hurt you sometimes keep a key even after you change the locks. That hit close enough that I swallowed. Maya gave a small, sad smile. Sorry, art teacher. We make metaphors out of paste. I took her hand beneath the table. She doesn't have a key anymore. Maya's fingers threaded through mine. For a moment, the rain tapping the window was the only sound. Then she whispered, I don't want to be the rebound chapter you read because the old book fell off the shelf. You're sure? I rose enough to lean in, giving her time to move away. She didn't. I kissed her softly once, then rested my forehead against hers. I'm sure, I said. Her hand came up to my jaw. Good. The kiss after that wasn't soft. It was relieved. Hungry in a way that made the table creak when my knee bumped it, Maya laughed against my mouth. Your apartment is not built for passion. Our apartment, she went still. I hadn't meant to say it like a vow, but there it was. Her eyes searched mine, our apartment. If you still want it to be, I do, she said. But maybe with new rules like no kissing during active stovetop operations. Reasonable, no using the word roommate immediately after kissing, cruel but fair, and one date, I blinked. One. One official date before we decide what this is in front of everyone else. She tilted her head. You can take me somewhere you don't already pay half the utilities. I smiled. Tonight. Her eyes brightened. Tonight dinner, I cook better than most restaurants, I believe that now. So take me somewhere with terrible food and good music. Less pressure, I love that. I loved her cleverness, her honesty, the way she knew herself even when she was scared. Careful, I told myself, but careful had kept me lonely. Dancing, I asked. Maya's grin turned wicked. Can you dance, Aaron? No, perfect. I like a man with flaws. My phone buzzed again. This time a text preview lit the screen. Tessa, I need to see you. It's important. Please don't ignore me. Maya saw it. I saw her see it. The room tightened. I picked up the phone, typed one sentence, and showed it to Maya before sending. I can't meet. Please don't contact me unless it's about something necessary and specific. Mia read it, then looked at me. Is that okay? I asked. Her face softened. You don't need my permission to have boundaries. No, I said, but I want you to know where mine are. She stood and stepped into me, wrapping her arms around my waist. It was the first time she had held me without the excuse of a kiss. Somehow it felt even more intimate. I hugged her back, one hand spread between her shoulder blades, my cheek against her hair. Vanilla cinnamon warmth. I'm scared, she admitted into my chest. Me too. Good. I looked down. Good. If you weren't scared, I'd think you hadn't noticed this matters. I brushed a loose curl from her cheek. It matters. Her smile was small but steady. Then pick me up at 7. We live together. She stepped back, suddenly all mischief again, then knock on my bedroom door like a gentleman. And if you're not ready, I'll be ready. You sure? Maya walked backward toward her room, eyes on mine. Aaron, she said, I've been getting ready for 8 months. Then she disappeared behind her door, leaving me in the kitchen with cold French toast, a boundary sent to my past, and the terrifying, wonderful knowledge that tonight was not going to be pretend. At 6:59, I stood outside Maya's bedroom holding a grocery store bouquet like it was a live grenade. I had bought flowers because dates required flowers. Then I had panicked in the checkout line because we lived together. And flowers in your own apartment felt either romantic or like a man apologizing for a plumbing disaster. Now I was staring at her closed door trying to remember how hands worked. At 7 exactly I knocked. From inside Maya called, "Who is it?" The man from down the hall. "I don't date neighbors." I brought flowers. A pause. I occasionally reconsider my principles. The door opened. Every thought I had dressed nicely for the evening fell directly down an elevator shaft. Maya stood there in a deep red dress with little buttons down the front, her curls loose around her shoulders, gold hoops at her ears. She wore lipstick the color of cherries. And when she smiled, I forgot my own address. Technically, I was already home. That made it worse. "Hi," she said. I held out the bouquet. "Hi." Her eyes dropped to the flowers. Daisies, orange tulips, one confused sprig of something purple. They're beautiful. I chose them because the floor section was emotionally overwhelming. She took them, laughing. "Very brave of you." I almost bought a cactus, too soon for symbolism. She set the flowers in a jar on her dresser, and I noticed she had cleaned her room. Not perfectly, Mia didn't do sterile, but enough that the books were stacked, the laundry was hidden, and the yellow lamp beside her bed made everything look soft. It felt intimate standing there in her doorway, like stepping closer to a part of her I usually passed politely on my way to the bathroom. "You look," I stopped. Her smile turned shy. "Don't say nice." I wasn't going to. What were you going to say? Like I'm going to spend the whole night forgetting how to dance. Her cheeks warmed. "Good answer." I offered my arm, ready. She slipped her hand into the crook of my elbow. "Absolutely not, me neither." We went to a basement bar called the Blue Lantern where the food came in red plastic baskets and the band played old soul songs under strings of amber lights. It was perfect. Ma ordered fries, a cheeseburger, and a chocolate milkshake with 2 straws. I raised an eyebrow. "What?" She said. "You wanted terrible food." I did, and good music. The saxophone player appears to be flirting with a lamp. That stage presence. We sat in a corner booth close enough that her knee rested against mine. Not by accident, not after the 3rd time when she left it there and looked at me over her milkshake straw with a challenge in her eyes. "So," she said, "official first date question. Go easy." "No." "What's something you've never told me?" I groaned. "We've lived together 8 months. You know my laundry schedule and my fear of decorative pillows." "Exactly." Give me the hidden file. The band slid into a slow, smoky version of Stand By Me. People began drifting toward the tiny dance floor. I watched the amber light move over her face. After Tessa left, I kept the ring for almost a year. Maya's expression softened, but she didn't interrupt. Not because I wanted her back. I think because throwing it away meant admitting the version of my future I'd planned was gone. I looked at our hands on the table, not touching, but close. One day I sold it and bought the couch. Her brows lifted, our gray couch, my monument to emotional progress. That couch has seen some things, mostly Devon spilling salsa. Maya's fingers slid across the table and touched mine. Thank you for telling me. I turned my hand over, catching hers. Your turn. She was quiet long enough that I thought she might dodge. Then she said I almost didn't move in. My grip tightened slightly. Why, you were too handsome. I stared. She tried to keep a straight face and failed. I'm serious. I came to see the apartment and you opened the door in socks holding a mug that said world's okayest uncle. And I thought, absolutely not. This is how women become fool. I'm not even an uncle. That made it worse. Mysterious mug, broad shoulders, rent under budget, a trap. I laughed, but she squeezed my hand. Also, she added quieter. I had just ended something with a man who made me feel like I was too much, too messy, too loud, too emotional. I wanted a safe apartment, not a crush with the hallway. The ache in her voice made me want to cross the booth and pull her into my lap. Instead, I lifted her hand and kissed her palm. You're not too much, her eyes shone. You sure? She whispered. I'm starting to suspect you're exactly enough to ruin me. Her laugh came out shaky. That sounds dangerous. It is good. The song changed and she nodded toward the dance floor. Come on, gray t-shirt. I told you I can't dance. I know I'm collecting flaws. She dragged me up. I was, as promised, terrible. Maya was not. She moved with easy confidence, laughing when I stepped the wrong way, guiding my hand to her waist like she belonged under it. The band played something slow enough to forgive me. She slid closer, one arm around my neck, her body warm against mine. This part, she murmured, is simple. What part? Just listen to the music to me. I looked down at her. She guided our steps small and close. I followed badly at first, then less badly. Her fingers toyed with the hair at the nape of my neck, and every nerve in my body held its breath. I'm listening, I said. Her gaze dropped to my mouth, then kissed me like this is a date. I did, right there under the amber lights in the middle of a crowded bar. I kissed Maya like I had picked her up at 7, like I had brought flowers. Like I was not her roommate hiding behind jokes. But a man choosing her in public. She kissed me back with a smile. When we broke apart, someone whistled. Maya hid her face briefly against my chest. Regret? I asked. She looked up. Not even a little. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. Maya felt the vibration. You can check. I don't want to. Boundaries include not pretending the world doesn't exist. Reluctantly, I pulled it out. Unknown number. Aaron, it's Tessa. I'm outside your building. Please, 5 minutes. My stomach dropped. Maya read my face. What? I showed her. The date did not shatter exactly, but something cold pressed at the edges of it. I'm sorry, I said immediately. Did you ask her to come? No. Do you want to see her? Number. Maya nodded once as if confirming something inside herself. Then she took my phone, typed and showed me before sending. Do not wait there. I am not available. If this is an emergency, text what you need or call someone appropriate. I looked at her. She's using urgency to get access, Mia said softly. You don't owe access, I sent it. Then I put the phone on silent and slid it into my pocket. Mia studied me. Are you okay? No, I admitted, but I want to be here. With you. Her face changed. Relief, desire, tenderness all at once. Then be here, she said, so I was. I took her hand and led her back to the dance floor before the next song ended. This time I didn't wait for her to guide me. I pulled her close, my palm firm at her waist, my cheek brushing her hair. I choose this, I said against her ear. Not because it's easy, because it's you. Maya's breath caught. Her arms tightened around me. I choose this too, she whispered. Even if you dance like a folding chair. I laughed and she kissed the sound right out of my mouth. We stayed until the band finished. We shared the milkshake. We walked home under a black umbrella that kept neither of us particularly dry because Maya kept tilting it to look at me. At our building, there was no one outside. No Tessa, no drama, just rain on the steps and Maya's hand tucked in mine. She looked at the door, then at me. Do we go in as roommates or as people who had a very successful first date? I leaned down and kissed the corner of her mouth. People, I said, who are going to need a lot of new rules. Her smile was soft enough to hurt. Then we climbed the stairs together, still holding hands, not knowing that the real question waiting upstairs wasn't whether Tessa had left. It was what she had left behind. At the top of the stairs, I saw at first a small white envelope leaned against our apartment door. My name was written across the front in Tessa's handwriting. Maya's hand tightened around mine, but she didn't pull away. For one stupid second, the old version of me came rushing back. The man trained to respond to Tessa's distress like a fire alarm. The man who would open the envelope, absorb the damage, explain himself to no one. Then Maya's thumb moved over my knuckles, not demanding, just there. I looked at her. Rain glittered in her curls. Her lipstick was mostly gone because of me, and her expression held something braver than jealousy. "You can read it," she said. "I don't want her in our night, she's already tried to be." Mia glanced at the envelope. The question is whether she gets to stay, that was the difference. Tessa had always made everything feel urgent. Maya made things feel true. I picked up the envelope, unlocked the door, and set it unopened on the kitchen counter. Then I turned to Maya. "She doesn't get to stay," I said. Her shoulders eased, but her eyes searched mine. "Are you sure?" "No." I stepped closer. "I'm learning." A smile touched her mouth. "That's allowed." I took her damp coat from her shoulders and hung it by the door. The apartment was dim except for the stove light, the rooster standing guard beside it like a ridiculous little witness. The lemon tart was still in the fridge. The flowers I'd given her sat in a jar on the table, slightly lobe-sided and completely perfect. Maya kicked off her heels inside. "For the record, that date was good enough that I'm willing to overlook your dancing." My dancing was emotionally sincere. Your dancing threatened innocent ankles. I laughed and caught her hand, pulling her into me. "Come here." She came willingly. That mattered more than anything. Her palm slid up my chest, slow and familiar and new at the same time. "What now, Aaron?" It wasn't a small question. It meant the envelope, the lease, the bedrooms. The fact that tomorrow morning we would still share rent and toothpaste, and the complicated consequences of wanting each other. I touched my forehead to hers. "Now we do this honestly. Specifics, please. I'm an art teacher. I need clear instructions and washable surfaces." "Okay." I brushed a curl from her cheek. "We keep our rooms for now." Her brows lifted. "Responsible. We go on dates outside this apartment. Ambitious. We tell our friends before Devon starts a betting pool." Too late. Devon was born running a betting pool, and if either of us gets scared, we say so. No hiding behind burned toast. Her expression softened. No hiding behind gray t-shirts. "That one may still be used strategically." She smiled, then sobered. "And Tessa." I looked at the envelope. Then I picked it up, walked to the junk drawer, pulled out a marker and wrote across the front, "Return to sender." Maya went very still. I opened the door and placed it outside on the hallway table, where outgoing mail collected beneath a dying fern. When I came back in, she was watching me like I had just done something much larger than refuse a letter. Maybe I had. "I don't need to know what she wants," I said. "Not tonight, maybe not ever." Maya crossed the kitchen in 3 steps and kissed me. It wasn't teasing this time, it was fierce. Her hands held my face like she was making sure I understood. Like she was answering not just my words, but every lonely year before them. I wrapped my arms around her and lifted her onto the edge of the counter, and she laughed into my mouth. "Aaron," she whispered. "What? This is an active counter operation. No burner, no rule violation, not unless the rooster objects." She glanced over my shoulder. He looked supportive. I kissed her again, slower, and the world narrowed to the warmth of her knees bracketing my hips, her fingers in my hair, the rain ticking against the window. Later, we ate lemon tart straight from the dish with 2 forks. Maya sat cross-legged on the kitchen floor, her red dress spread around her like spilled wine, while I leaned against the cabinets beside her. "This is not how I pictured our first date ending," she said. "How did you picture it?" With slightly more dignity. "We returned my ex's mysterious envelope and made out under poultry supervision." "That's dignity." She laughed so hard she dropped her fork, then she leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm happy," she said quietly like the words surprised her. I kissed the top of her head. "Me too." The next morning, Devon texted, "So did you kiss or do I owe Julia $20? Mia stole my phone and replied, "Julia is rich now." By noon, our friend group knew. By Monday, Maya made lasagna. I watched from the doorway on purpose. She did not burn it, though she did threaten me with a spoon when I said, "Careful, chef." My shoulders are in the room. 3 weeks later, we had our first fight, not dramatic, not fatal, just 2 people who had spent too long pretending, suddenly trying to be real. I left a wet towel on the bed. She rearranged my entire spice cabinet by emotional temperature. We both got stubborn. Then she stood in the kitchen, eyes bright, and said, "I don't want to win. I want us to learn how to come back." So we did again and again. By the following spring, Maya's lemon apron hung beside my gray t-shirt in the laundry like a peace treaty. We still had separate bedrooms technically. Hers became the painting room half the time. Mine became the place where I kept my socks and pretended I wasn't always sleeping in hers. The ceramic rooster moved to the center of the dining table after Maya declared him the patron saint of inconvenient honesty. Tessa never came back. A month after the envelope, she sent one final text apologizing for crossing a line. I wished her well and deleted the thread. Not angrily, not triumphantly, just freely. A year after that smoky, almost Thanksgiving, we hosted it again. This time, Maya cooked nearly everything. There was roast chicken with crisp skin, mashed potatoes with roasted garlic, green beans with lemon, and a tart cooling by the window. Our friends crowded the living room, laughing too loudly, arguing over cranberry sauce again. Devin raised his glass, to Maya, who apparently can cook. Maya lifted her chin, I always could. Julia pointed at me, and to Aaron, who apparently can learn. I put my arm around Mia's waist, slowly. Mia looked up at me, eyes warm but sincerely. Someone asked for the garlic bread. Mia slid the tray into the oven, then turned and caught me watching her. The old joke rose to my lips. I didn't say it. Instead, I crossed the kitchen, leaned close, and whispered, "You're beautiful when you're not pretending." Her face changed in that soft, stunned way I loved best. Then she smiled. "You're distracting when you're honest." The smoke alarm stayed silent, but when she kissed me in front of everyone, the room erupted anyway, and there we were, our kitchen full of noise. Our friends cheering, lemon and garlic in the air. Maya's hands on my shirt, mine at her waist. Both of us finally done hiding from the thing that had been burning quietly between us all along. What would you have done if your roommate confessed she only messed up because you made her nervous? Have you ever experienced something similar where a joke accidentally uncovered real feelings? Tell your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next.